Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is October 2nd, 2024, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's going on out there, everybody? This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. And who would have thunk it? I had two. I think I'm going to do them both. Get the first one out of the way because nobody's going to like it. Nobody in this city anyway. The Philadelphia Eagles had 0 yards and 0 points in the first quarter of their game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They didn't get their first down until 6:04 left before halftime. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Had a lot of arguments, well, not arguments, a lot of discussions on Facebook about what's wrong, what went wrong. Eagle fans are all over the place. It's the coach, it's the quarterback, it's the defense, it's the DC. I'm not even going to tell you my opinion. But anyway, who would have thunk it? Jared Goff, 18 of 18, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and to boot, caught a touchdown pass on a Philly special. Unbelievable. Set an NFL record, first quarterback ever with a perfect completion percentage on more than 10 passes and over 200 yards. Nice day.
Well, on your Eagles point, okay? I was I'd gone over to my stepdad's place to help him set up a TV. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was just ridiculous. He thought you could get when they advertise a TV, they say it's a smart TV, you can get all of this stuff. And he thought that when he got it, he would just get all of that stuff.
Oh, right, yeah.
No subscription, no cable. He got nothing. I'm like, oh, he didn't know his own Wi-Fi name. He didn't know his password. And I'm not going to say the company, but I'm so glad that I don't get my internet from that company because trying to speak to somebody was not impossible.
I think I know who you're talking about, and you're absolutely correct.
Needless to say, I missed the Eagle game completely. Okay.
Oh, don't tell me he wanted you to set up the TV so he could watch the game.
We was all trying to watch the game. He's trying to watch the game. And
wait, did he get like a real big John?
Yeah, nice size,
Okay.
Perfect for which company is new. He had it for a long time. He didn't have cable on that, and he couldn't get the games. He got a Fire Stick, but you can't get the games unless you have a subscription to something.
Right. So he thought when he got the new TV, he could get everything.
It was just
I understand.
Okay. But the reason I brought it up again, I missed the Eagle game. So I heard so much about it and had not seen the game. And I made it a point to go check, I have NFL Plus, so I can go watch old games. So I was able to go watch the condensed version.
Okay.
And, it was funny. I remember, was it a week or two ago, I was talking about Aaron Rodgers when he was playing against the Patriots, and I was saying he was slicing and dicing these guys up. Well, yeah, Baker was kind of doing that, but apparently they had identified the weaknesses on the edges, and they were just getting that ball out so quick. And the guys was catching it, and then every once in a while they hit him down a little bit, and I mean they was just coming at him. He was getting rid of the ball fast. I think he was somewhere in that 2-second range or something like that. That ball was coming out, and I'm not a Fangio. I've never kind of been a Fangio fan. I questioned his hiring in the first place, but whatever they was doing, the Bucks had. And what made it so bad when I'm talking to my stepdad, I'm like, "You want to watch? Come on, you want to watch the Eagles game?" I was like, "Oh." He's like, "Who they playing? The Bucks?" I was like, "Yeah, the Bucks." He said, "They're gonna lose. Bucks got their number." He only had a TV. He's like, "The Bucks got their number." So, I actually didn't think they played as bad as some of the people said, but the turnovers were, they were turnovers. We know they need the points, and they stop your momentum and all that kind of good stuff. So that was that. Did you see the Lions head coach talking about how he felt bad because he had already given out the game ball, and then he found out that Goff went 18 for 18.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
you got to
it's
get
not
game
so
ball for
bad.
that.
I didn't
He
know.
didn't realize it.
Goff didn't even know. You
That's
know,
amazing.
Goff didn't even know. So
If I didn't have no incompletions, I'd know that. I'd be like, yo, I completed every pass.
he
He
was
only
in,
threw 18.
he was in one of those Dr. J zones where he just the
I
ball,
guess so. I guess so.
you
Which
know.
that's great. But he only threw 18 passes. That's the crazy thing. I would have thought, shit, Geno Smith threw 56 passes in his game.
On the facility, who's the guy that played with the Packers, played with Aaron Rodgers? Receiver.
Oh, James Jones.
Well, he was the big defender of Goff. You don't think people are giving Goff enough credit.
They're not.
The other guy who's on the show Breakfast thing with Craig Carton and all of them, the reporter guy, he was pointing out that, or was it him? It might have been somebody else, that the Goff was not throwing no dunks, no 5-yard passes. He was throwing downfield
Yeah.
in
Right.
spots. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So that wasn't no easy stuff he was doing. So yeah, man, those are two who would have thunk it type things right there for sure, man. Goff and man, you know, like I said, I didn't think the Eagles played as bad. It's just those turnovers. Just they would kind of, you know,
It was bad.
man. Well, we're gonna take a quick look at the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. Let me remind people again, this is Ben and Barry on football. If we're on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And all the homework that we do, you're gonna be seeing that in a minute. Make sure that you get notified when this comes online. We're gonna look at the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. Benny, you can go to sterlingnppr.com. And we're going to kind of skip through. These are the rankings, APA, all average points for, average points against. Average net points is what we really track things by. And so you can come here and see all 32 of the rankings at this, and I'll also have this at my Facebook page. And this is ATOD for average turnover differential, you know. But what we want to do is we want to focus on the top 10 in this group. And that group right there, man, I'm telling you. So we have all 4 categories here, Benny. Net points, points for, points against, and turnover differential for your top 10. So average net points, ANP. Average points for, APF. Average points against, there's your scoring defense, APA. And average turnover differential, because turnovers lead to points. Number 1, Minnesota Vikings tied with the New Orleans Saints. Now, we know the New Orleans Saints are living off of a couple big games that they had, but they're still up there at the top with an average net point. And again, that's the difference between points for and points against of plus 14. And I say plus because with the nets, you can be negative. Generally, half the league is negative at any one particular time. In third place, Buffalo, 9.8. Pittsburgh, how do you like that, Benny? Tied for fourth place or fifth place with Detroit at plus 5.5. So that means that they've been winning their games by an average of 5.5 points. San Francisco coming in 6th at 5.3. Kansas City, 5th, 5 even. Then we have Washington and Tampa Bay tied at 4.8. And the Chargers hanging in the top 10 in net points at 4.5. Do you want me to do the other categories before you comment, or you want to?
Well, I mean, as we go through the other categories, it'll probably become pretty clear to everybody why or how most of these teams got in the top 10 in average net points. Obviously, it's the points you score minus the points that you give up. And chances are, if you're in the top 10 of that first category, you're either playing extremely well, putting up lots of points on the board, or possibly playing great defense and giving up very little points. Or, as we see here with most of these teams like Minnesota, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Detroit, and the Niners, and Kansas City, in my estimation, are playing really well on both sides of the ball. So they're not skunking everybody on D, but they're playing strong D. They're not giving up a lot of points. They're not blowing everybody out, but they've had some pretty good win margins. And that's why they are where they are.
Now, we're talking about the Sam Darnold-led Minnesota Vikings.
Yes.
In first place. Now, they're fourth place in scoring. New Orleans again, averaging 32 points a game. Buffalo averaging 31. Washington, with a rookie at quarterback, is averaging 30 points a game. And then Minnesota at 29. Baltimore in fifth place, 27. Green Bay, Detroit, San Fran, Cincinnati, and Seattle all averaging 26 points per game. So I was saying we had a tie in scoring between 6th and 10th place. Green Bay, Detroit, San Fran, Cincinnati, and Seattle all at 26 points per game on average.
Oh, okay.
So, my 28 is my magic number. But if you're in that area, we know that generally we find that your Super Bowl winners, especially, come from this top 10. It might not be from the week 4 top 10, but over the season, the cream will rise to the top. And we had some surprise, people in certain places now ranking first place in defense, tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers, is one Mr. Harbaugh and the LA Chargers only allowing 13 points per game. That's how you come back into the league, Benny. That's how you come back.
Yeah, I mean, he made no bones about it. We're going to run the ball and we're going to play defense, and that's what they've been doing.
Speaking of old coaches, Denver only allowing 14 points per game, and I'm sure it helped. I know you'll talk about that Denver Jets thing there. And then you got B-Flow coming in 5th place with the Minnesota defense. So Minnesota's is that for 4th place? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th place. So Minnesota's in 4th place on both offense and on defense. And
that's right.
And turnover differential. So that's
right.
That's
which tells you why they're in first place overall.
Overall, you know what I'm saying? So interesting. Now Chicago is up there in the top 10, and that's what they say a rookie needs, a good defense, and that helped them win some games. Tampa Bay and Detroit, so that rounds out your top 10 defensively. New Orleans, Kansas City, both allowing 18 points, Chicago 19, Tampa Bay 20, and Detroit 21 points per game.
Question. You have a magic number on offense, but I'm not quite sure I remember you ever giving me a magic number for defense, for points against.
Because I never did. And I don't
Okay.
have one, to be quite honest with you.
I have one.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think it's 18.
Right there with New Orleans and Kansas City is.
Right in that area.
Place. 18 points. If you can hold the team to 18 points,
you should win if you got a decent offense.
Yeah.
You'll right. That gives you a 10-point margin.
Yeah,
10-point window.
Up there in third place in the net points as of today.
Mm-hmm.
That's strong, especially when you go through a whole season. Well, round this conversation off with, again, a average turnover differential. And again, the differential is that difference between takeaways and giveaways. And it can go positive and it can go negative. And as you can see here over 4 game period, got a lot of fractions. So Green Bay coming in first place in turnover differential. Congratulations. Again, those LA Chargers coming in second place with 1.3, tied with Buffalo. When did Buffalo become a turnover machine, Benny?
Well, they always been a turnover machine in the past on giveaways, not takeaways.
Wait.
But they fixed that. Since they fixed that.
So we have a two-way tie between Minnesota and the Saints at 0.8 for fourth and fifth place. We have a three-way tie between Pittsburgh, Chicago, a four-way tie. Pittsburgh, Chicago, and let me again say, my beloved San Francisco 49ers. And Tampa Bay at basically 0.5 turnover differential, half turnover differential, and the positive. And then Baltimore bringing up 10th place at 0.3 average turnover differential. So again, congratulations to the first place group. That would be Minnesota and net points, New Orleans in scoring, the Chargers in defense, and Green Bay and the turnover differential. So got to get them first place guys they love, Benny.
Yep.
All righty. Anything else on this?
I'm good.
All right. Next section we're going to do is the Bias Plus report. Now, before I move into the Bias Plus report, just to make sure everybody understands exactly what we're talking about. You see that net point there, that net point differential, and that turnover differential. We take those numbers and we put them together in a super secret formula. But think about it this way. If Minnesota at averaging plus 14 was to play, I got to find an easy one, Kansas City at plus 5. The way the bias works is the difference between 14 and 5 is what, 9?
9.
That 9 would be the bias number favoring the team with the larger net points, in this case, Minnesota. Okay, this is a completely unbiased, a quantitative method of looking at matchups. And then we take the turnover differential, and that's where the super secret formula comes in, and we come out with a bias plus, and the plus takes into account the turnover differential. So we're going to go through the bias plus reports where you'll see the matchups as they come up for week 5, Benny.
Week 5.
Let me say right off, you're going to have to get up early on Sunday.
London game.
Past the Thursday night game. I'm sorry. Let's not jump past the Thursday night.
I want to jump past the Thursday night game, right?
Which is
got to get that one out of the way.
So we got those Buccaneers coming up against those Falcons. Bias plus score of 10.5 favors. I didn't put it on here. How do you like that? I didn't put it on here on this one. Well, that's because it favors the Buccaneers.
It does?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And this is the thing that I will say is that when I looked at some of these numbers for the Falcons, when I looked at them, you know, what we're talking about is the 12th ranked offense going against the 16th ranked defense, 9th ranked defense going against the 23rd ranked offense. Yeah. So, you know, Buccaneers, Falcons, bias plus score 10.5 favors those Bucks. So what you got?
Okay, so we got Buccaneers going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. They're 2 NFC South opponents, both of them coming off of big wins last week. Atlanta will be home as they were last week against New Orleans. This was one of the most competitive games of week 4, as I kind of predicted it would be. when we were talking about which one we thought was going to be the intriguing game. I believe this was one of our nominees. There were 4 lead changes, and neither team was ever up by more than 7 points. The Falcons kicker, Younghoe Koo, did his part to keep them in the game with field goals, and it was fitting that after a pass interference penalty on New Orleans moved the ball from the Atlanta 35 to the Saints 40, he was in position to win it with 2 seconds left on a 58-yard field goal. Now, after a loss at home to the Broncos in week 3, Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers brought a solid game plan on both sides of the ball and imposed their will on those hapless visiting Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 33-16. How you didn't think the Eagles weren't playing that bad, I don't know. But anyway, 33-16 was the final. Baker Mayfield had an outstanding day. He threw for 347, 2 touchdowns, one to Mike Evans, one to Trey Palmer, and he had a 1-yard run himself, Baker Mayfield. The defense recorded 6 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles for loss. They were all over Jalen Hurts. That being said, I like the Buccaneers to go on the road to Atlanta and take the win in that one. I'm going with the Bucs and the bias.
Going with the bias, going with the Bucks. Good stuff, Benny. I can dig it. I can dig it. All right, next up. So this would be the Sunday game in England.
9:30 in the morning.
9:30. We got to get up. Got to get up early in the morning. Yeah, Jets at Vikings. I guess the Vikings will be home, even though they're both in England, and the bias plus score of 12.8 favors the Vikings.
So both teams will be in England. The Vikings will be considered the home team. Last week, the Vikings took a trip to Green Bay, division opponent. They jumped all over the Packers on their home field early. They scored 4 touchdowns in the first half, and they only allowed Green Bay 1 touchdown. They went up 28-7 to start the second half, and then they quickly proceeded to try to let Green Bay back in the doggone game. They punted 3 times. They had 2 3-and-outs. They had a turnover on downs. Darnold threw an interception, and they had a fumble. And somewhere mixed in there, they had 1 field goal, which was their only scoring in the second half. If people were waiting for Sam Darnold and the Vikings' wheels to fall off, they might have thought this was the game, or this could possibly be the beginning of the end. I am personally not one of those people, but they look completely different in the second half of this game. The great start and the bad finish, but they did still win the game 31-29. Now the Jets lost an ugly game at home to the Denver Broncos 10-9. Aaron Rodgers missed several throws. He was pretty bad, pretty bad. 24-42. That's really bad. No touchdowns. They never got their running game going. And the so-called Super Bowl caliber defense was bad too. They had 0 sacks. How do you not have any sacks, not 1, against the Denver Broncos and a rookie quarterback? And they only had 2 quarterback hits. No exaggeration. They looked real regular. If you don't want to say bad, they had nothing special going for them. I don't see the Jets being able to beat the Vikings. I think the Vikings are too strong. I think that, again, this is just another game on the Sam Darnold revenge tour. And I believe he takes it. Yeah, there's a couple more coming. You know, he's on his 4th team, like I like to tell everybody.
Yeah.
So he's got a couple more coming on his revenge tour. I believe the Vikings defense is far too strong for the Jets. B-Flow going to have something special.
Rankings, the Vikings.
B-Flow going to have something special for Aaron Rodgers.
Say that again?
I said B-Flow is going to have something special for Aaron Rodgers.
I hear Aaron Rodgers is kind of feeling a little sore and a little bit beat up too.
As he should.
You know? But he's got the 21st ranked offense, averaging 19 points a game, coming up against the 4th ranked defense, only giving up 14 points a game. So if he thought Denver was going to be a challenge, I mean, I'm sure B-Flow's got, like you said, got something special waiting for him, So this is going to be an interesting game. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. And again, it's one of the games that we get to see where it's the game, it's not, not six other games that's dividing our attention. And again, it lets you kind of look in detail as to what's going on. So we're all looking forward to that. Man, okay. Aaron Rodgers against B-Flow's defense. Man. Next up, Bills at Texans. Ding, ding, ding. We have an intriguing game.
Oh, you think so?
A candidate by a score of 20 favors the Bills.
I don't know how intriguing. I tell you what, like they always say, it's the NFL any given Sunday. So any particular game could end up being a super intriguing game when it's all said and done. But I don't know about this one. Anyway, the Texans look pretty horrible in week 3. They got smashed by the Vikings, and they barely pulled out a win at home last week against the winless Jacksonville Jaguars. CJ Stroud wasn't very accurate, which we're not used to seeing him be. He did throw for 345 yards, and he did throw for 2 touchdowns, but most of that yardage, almost half of it, was thanks to Nico Collins, who had 151 by himself on 12 catches, and he scored a touchdown. They put together 101 on the ground. They got little or nothing from their defense, and they had to that's right. I almost forgot. They had to come from 20-17 down, but they did it on a pass from CJ Stroud to Dare Ogunbowale. Does that name sound familiar?
Basketball.
That's correct.
I love her, man.
Enrique is his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think they're twins.
Really?
Wow. I'm not 100% on that, but I think they're twins. But anyway, he caught that touchdown pass with 18 seconds left in regulation. They ended up winning the game 24-20, which was a big deal for him because I don't think he scored a touchdown since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. How crazy is that?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. All right. So the Bills, oh my goodness. The Ravens shocked the Bills on the first play from scrimmage.
Stop the monkey.
And they never looked back. The lack of depth on the Buffalo defense, due mostly to injuries, but also some free agent defections, has finally reared its ugly head, and they had no answer for the Ravens' ground game. Ground and pounded them all day in a 35-10 beatdown. It was ugly. Josh Allen was under duress for much of the night. They're really going to have to regroup after this game. However, I believe that they will regroup, and I believe that they will go down to Houston and they will beat the Texans.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, okay. So you think that they will wake up from that shock of last week?
Yes, I do. And I also don't really believe in the Texans defense now all of a sudden. Well, I don't know. I don't know what D'Amico's doing, but something's not right.
Their head coach is a defensive guy, so it shouldn't be that way.
It wasn't that way last season, but it is now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of shocking the monkey, we got a couple teams here. Panthers at Bears. By a split score of 16.5 favors the Bears. Now, Dalton, tell us about what happened with the Panthers last week, because I know Dalton came out hot. Didn't he have a second game after that, right?
Well, let's see. Andy Dalton tossed an interception on the Panthers' very second possession of the game.
Did he?
Yes, he did. Their second possession. That allowed Cincinnati to put together a short drive, and they scored the first touchdown of the game. I think when the Panthers' first possession, I believe they had to punt. On the Panthers' very next possession, Dalton drove them down the field, and Chuba Hubbard scored a rushing touchdown to tie it up. After the Bengals scored again, Andy Dalton led another drive to tie it up. This time was a TD pass to rookie wideout Xavier Legette. Unfortunately, the Carolina defense couldn't hold up their end of the bargain, and they allowed the Bengals to run out to a 31-21 lead and eventually beat them 34-24. So the defense let them down, but Andy Dalton proved he still has the juice. So I got to give him props for that. Now, they're going to have to go to Chicago and play the Bears. Chicago finally put together a balanced offensive attack, and they defeated the Rams in LA. 24-18. DeAndre Swift, who they have not been using correctly, finally started getting his touches. He turned 23 touches into 165 total yards, and Caleb Williams led the Bears on 4 scoring drives with a field goal, a touchdown pass, and 2 touchdown runs on the ground. The Bears defense continues to be the strength of the team. They sacked Matt Stafford 3 times. They hit him 6 times, and they had 7 tackles for loss. So as long as their defense stays strong, I believe they're going to keep on trying to groom Caleb into the kind of quarterback that they expected him to be when he picked him first overall. However, the Panthers are feeling themselves. They're extremely confident. This is going to sound crazy because it sounds crazy even to me, but I'm picking the road team again, and I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Andy Dandy.
Andy Dandy. Yes.
Well, you know, I really have to separate out his numbers because I keep saying that the averages here include the time for Bryce Young. They're ranked 25th in offense, scoring 18.3 points per game. But I think he's been doing better than that in the last 2 games since Andy came in. But I don't have his particular numbers. Interesting that they're scoring 18.3 points per game on average, and the Bears are giving up 18.8 points per game on average.
Yeah, they had. Okay. He started 2 games, right?
Yeah.
Andy Dalton started 2 games, right?
Right.
Okay, so in week 3, they scored 36 on the Raiders. And last week, I had it right here in front of me. They scored 24 points.
33
So, yeah.
24.
Yeah.
Okay.
In just the 2 games that he started.
Okay. So well beyond that 18-point range.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that'll be interesting to see how the Bears handle this particular deal because, you know, he's putting up some points and they're still a bit limited in their scoring. So,
yep.
All righty, Benny. Here we go, man. Not bad. I like that. The Bears. All right. And the Panthers. And you're going with the Panthers.
Yep.
Going against the bias, going with the Red Rifles. Browns at Commanders. Come on, Benny, say it with me. The Commanders. Bias plus score of 13.3 favors. Go ahead, Benny, say it. The Commanders.
This one's going to be a no-brainer, but I'm going to go through my stuff here in case I try to talk myself out of it. So I got to tell you this because I heard about this on TV and then I went and looked it up and I found the press conference. During a press conference, I believe this was a week or 2 ago, Deshaun Watson was asked about running the ball more in hopes of maybe improving the offense a little bit or adding something to the offense. And his answer was, and I quote, "I'm not going in there and asking them for more designed runs. If I don't have to run, then I'm not going to run. So I'm not trying to take any hits." Unquote. That being said, the Browns lost to the Raiders in Vegas 20-16. Watson threw a touchdown pass at the end of their opening drive. And other than a field goal on their second possession, they didn't score again until they got a scoop and score on a Zamir White fumble by their safety, Rodney McLeod, scooped it up, ran it back for a touchdown. Other than that, they did not score anymore. Watson threw an interception, He was under duress the entire game as he was the week before. He took 11 hits. He got sacked 3 times. Meanwhile, the Browns defense, besides the scoop and score, did little to nothing. My God, man. This guy's taken 28 hits over the last 2 games. And he don't want to run because he doesn't want to get tackled. He's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage anyway. It's crazy.
The political thing would be to say, we'll do whatever we got to do, you know.
You're absolutely correct. But he won't say that. Now, let's talk about those Washington Commanders. Rookie of the Year front runner Jaden Daniels is still on fire. He completed 26 of 30 passes. What? This guy's a rookie? 26 of 30. This is against the Cardinals. He has a crazy good 82% completion percentage. That's nuts. That's in 4 professional games. This is the beginning of this man's pro career. 4 games, 82% completion percentage. He ran for a score. He threw a touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin, and the Commanders got 3 more touchdowns on the ground, 2 by Jeremy McNichols, who was sitting in for Austin Eckler, got a concussion, and 1 by starting running back Brian Robinson Jr. for a 42-14 blowout on the road in Arizona. I am taking the Commanders and not even going to think about it twice.
You just better, man. You just better.
I have now I'm not even going to say little to no. I have no confidence whatsoever in the Cleveland Browns. No, I don't care who they're playing.
The weak point with the Commanders seems to be that they're still in shootouts. They're ranked 25th in defense, giving up 25.5 points per game.
Right.
So, but it's, I guess, the irony of what you're saying that Deshaun said versus what the Commanders quarterback is like tiptoeing into the end zone after some fantastic hand fakes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm not going to run because I don't want to get hit. It's like, well, this is too easy. Here, you run that way, I run this way, and I'm in. So, all right. So you're going with the bias on this one. Makes sense to me, man. Look, we both are Jaden Daniels fans, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Bias plus score 13.3 favors Commanders. Ben's going with the bias, going with the Commanders. Let's look at the Colts at Jaguars. Bias plus score 14.3 favors the Colts. That's how bad the Jaguars are playing, eh?
Okay. Quarterback Anthony Richardson, I tell you, boy, he's tough to get a read on. Every time you think a guy that big, that fast, with an arm that strong is going to really blow up and show you something, he gets hurt, and we don't get a chance to really see his potential. He was 3 out of 4 for 71 yards. He ran 3 times for 24 yards before he injured his hip. He was hurt, didn't come out, tried to run, and you could see his hip give out on him, and he dragged his leg and had to go out. He should have never done that. He could have made it worse. I don't know how long he's going to be out. I think I saw a report that he expects to sit out maybe 1 game. But anyway, that all happened on the second possession of the game for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor scored on a 2-yard run to finish the opening drive, but veteran backup Joe Flacco had to come over and had to take over for Richardson when he went out. Now, just like when he took over quarterback duties for the Browns last season, the former Super Bowl MVP took command right away. He led the team on 4 scoring drives. He still got the juice. 2 touchdown passes, and they kicked 2 field goals. That's 4 scoring drives. We'll have to see if he can keep it up, because I'm almost certain he's going to be starting again this week.
So Joe Flacco and the Red Rifle.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
In effect, you know what I mean? This is what's really funny about this game, Benny. when you look at some of the numbers. The Colts are ranked 17th in net points with average net point of 0.
Okay.
They're ranked 16th in turnover differential with an average turnover differential of 0.
Right. Yeah. They're sitting
Which meant
square in the middle.
Which means they're scoring 21.3 and they're allowing 21.3 points per game.
Right. So the difference is
0. Now, on the other hand,
the difference in their bias, though.
Huh?
The bias plus.
Well, that's because the Jaguars have a net points of minus 12. So 0 is better than minus 12. The difference goes to the Colts. They're
right.
30th in scoring and 30th in defense.
now tell me something. Where are they in turnover differential? Just curious.
25th at minus 0.5.
Who, the Colts?
No, the Jaguars. The Colts.
The Jaguars. I can't, okay. If it was the Colts, I'd have been surprised. Okay, so the Jags, yeah. I'm going to say this. The Jags need this win in the worst way. If Doug Peterson makes it out of this season without getting fired, it'll be a miracle. But they got to win some games. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be the one. If Richardson was still playing, I might go with the Jags. But with Flacco in there, game managing his behind off, I don't see it. Now, Jonathan Taylor does have a little injury. He's a little questionable as to whether he's going to play. If he plays, I like the Colts all day. If he doesn't play, Trey Sermon, ex-49er, will probably start. I won't be as confident, but I'm still going to pick the Colts.
Okay. All right. So you're going with the I thought you were going in the other.
Yeah, no, I'm going with the bias.
Going with the bias. Okay.
Yeah. This is another road team. I picked a lot of road teams so far. This is crazy.
Yeah, but look, well, the Jaguars, their defense is bad too. So
yeah, they're bad. They're bad.
Flacco
no doubt about that.
To handle that. All right. Interesting game here because Ravens at Bengals, bias plus score of 6.2 favors the Ravens. People are talking about the Bengals quarterback now as to whether or not he is the man as they thought he was because he seemed to be able to play well against Patrick Mahomes. But here come the Ravens. Ben, I know you're going to talk about it. The power game, okay? The Ravens unleashed the power game with their 300-pound fullback. I'm about to do a study. I want to check the win-loss ratios on teams with fullbacks because let me tell you, when I always say you have to have different kinds of games. You know what I mean? You have to be float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. You know what I mean? Or hit like a truck, and they're hitting like trucks. But then they got such speed back there, that it really was a very interesting game to watch. I mean, you pull a guard or you pull a tackle and you put the card out there leading the way. And then you say, oh yeah, by the way, that's King Henry coming up at 250 or whatever he is, running like a 4.3 or something ridiculous like that. Oh my God.
The scary thing is, as good as their offensive line blocks, when Ricard comes to clean up any mess they might have left behind, that means Derrick Henry doesn't even have a chance of getting a finger put on him till he gets to the second level. That's what makes him scary.
From safeties and cornerbacks and maybe lighten the butt linebackers, or just not quite as fast.
Making business decisions.
Hey, look, let me tell you. All right, Benny, next up. All right. Packers at Rams, an NFC contest. Bias plus score of 21 favors the Packers. We know the Rams up against it a little bit. What do you got?
Yeah, Rams are having some problems, but the Packers looked dazed and confused last week in a disastrous first half of their home game against the Minnesota Vikings. They fell behind 28 nothing before scoring with 15 seconds just before halftime. Jordan Love threw two of his three total interceptions. Kicker Braden Narvison, who I don't know where this guy came from. I don't know if he was on somebody's practice squad or if he's a rookie or whatever. I have to check that. He missed two field goals. That's a good way to get yourself replaced as a kicker, I'll tell you that. They had a 3-and-out and a turnover on downs all in the first half that really put them in a bad hole. They did make a furious attempt to get back in the game in the fourth quarter with a lot of help from the Vikings, but they committed two more turnovers and they only made the score close, losing 31-29. Now, the Rams' defense was very lackluster in their loss to the visiting Bears. They allowed Caleb Williams to lead his struggling offense on 4 scoring drives while recording 3 sacks, but not much else. So the Rams defense is sort of kind of falling apart. Matt Stafford and the Rams offense put up decent numbers on the ground and through the air, but they failed to score. 3 out of 4 trips to the red zone, they came up with no points. Doesn't bode well for the Rams. Got to go with the Packers in this one.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, the Packers are in the positive. They're ranked 13th in net points. They're plus 3.8, where the Rams are ranked 29th at minus 10. So,
Yeah, I think Jordan Love was struggling a bit with a tiny bit of rust and a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, wanting to come right back right away and try to pick up where he left off at. And they got behind so fast that I think it threw him for a loop. But the comeback effort in the second half, I think, makes them look just as good as they were looking before he got hurt, and they'll be fine.
wasn't that like coming off of with some rust into a B flow defense, right?
Yeah, that didn't help. But I'll tell you the truth though, the offense, the Vikings was scoring like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You know what I mean?
Okay.
4 touchdowns in one half of football. That's a lot.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So you're going with the Packers?
Packers. Yep.
Going with the bias. Giants at Seahawks. Bias plus score 9.1 favors the Seahawks. And I heard on the herd, the guy from the herd was saying he thinks the Giants are like 1 or 2 players away from being competitive. I was like, okay, he likes your Giants a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Malik Neighbors makes a big, big difference. The offensive line is finally showing some improvement. I mean, we got a first-class left tackle, and I think we got a first-class center. The guards are kind of okay. John Runyon Jr. is in there. We could still use a little bit of help on the line. The defense is scrappy. Another good draft will help a lot, but I agree with him. Now, when you say a couple, that kind of makes you think 2. I think we need more than 2. I would say we need a few new guys, a few more guys. I tell you what, if they open up the cash register and go after Devontae Adams, that would make me very happy.
Oh, I guess it would. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they will. That's just not their MO. It's just not. So anyway, okay, so let's talk about this game. So the Giants have to go to Seattle. That's a long trip from the East Coast, but they'll go to see the Seahawks. Now, they lost to the Cowboys last weekend, 20-15, which is almost the same identical score that they won by when they beat the Browns week 13. In fact, I think they beat the Browns 21.
Week 13?
Week 3.
Week 3. Okay.
Yeah, I think they beat the Browns 21-15, but they lost to the Cowboys 20-15. Also, for some strange reason, after they had really good success on the ground against the Browns, they couldn't run the ball against the Dallas Cowboys, who have the worst run defense in the league. So kind of scratching my head about that one. I don't know what to make of that. I just got finished praising the offensive line. But anyway, injuries on the Seahawks defense severely hampered them against the finely tuned machine that is the Detroit offense. The Lions put them away 42-29. It was actually, I don't want to say it was worse than it sounds. The reason I won't say that is because it could have actually been worse. Yeah, Kenneth Walker III just came back from an injury and came back with a vengeance, scoring 3 touchdowns on the ground. But Geno Smith had to throw the ball 56 times just to try and keep up. He did throw an interception, and DK Metcalf lost the fumble, and we know what happens when you turn the ball over. Neither of those things helped. That being said, the Seahawks will be at home. I'm sure they'll be able to regroup. They've already proven they can put plenty of points on the board. So it's going to be hard for me to pick my Giants. I got to go with the Seahawks.
Got to go with the Seahawks, saying. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Cowboys and Steelers. I remember the days back when they both was fighting for Super Bowl championship.
Oh, yeah, this used to be a big rivalry.
This used to be a big game, man. Man, I'm telling you. But the box score right now, 8.1 favors the Steelers, led by Mr. Fields. And a stingy defense. 8.1. I'm kind of surprised. What do you think?
Well, I just got finished talking about the Giants losing to the Cowboys. So somehow the worst run defense in the league was able to get it together enough to shut down the Giants' ground game. Offensively, Dak was able to put together an efficient passing game. Actually, it was pretty efficient. 22 of 27, threw for 2 touchdowns. He had no turnovers. So he looked like Dak. Cowboys looked like the Cowboys. It wasn't a great display, but it was very solid. It was against the Giants, though. But anyhow, they did look solid. Now, after a slow start, the Steelers went down 17-3 before finally starting a comeback with Justin Fields rushing TD with 2:53 left in the third quarter. They scored on their next 2 possessions on another Fields run and a Fields touchdown pass. That went to tight end Pat Freiermuth. Very good tight end, by the way. That was with 3:40 left in regulation. But their last drive fell short when they turned it over on downs. And I did not say who they were playing, and that was a mistake on my part. But the bottom line is I'm picking the Steelers to beat the Cowboys at home with a strong running game and a tough defense.
Oh, man, really? All right, okay. So they're going with the bias in this particular case. And if you're going back 2 weeks, this would be so surprising to see.
Yeah.
It's not. All right. Fantastic. All right. That was, Benny, the Sunday night game. So we will get a chance to see some serious football. What do you think the chances of seeing some Russell Wilson anytime in the near future?
Again, this is intriguing. Every press conference, the subject comes up, and every press conference, Tomlin gives some word salad of some sort, but it still sounds to me like he doesn't want to come out and say Justin Fields is my guy unless something really bad happens. But I think that's how he's feeling. You got to go with him, man. They've been winning. They almost pulled out this last one. And even though they didn't win the game, he played really well. So as long as he continues to play well, you got to go with him.
Okay.
It'd be different if Russ was lights out in the preseason. But remember, he wasn't. After the preseason was over and we were going into the season, Well, he already had the calf issue, but the little bit that he played, everybody was still kind of up in the air who should start. So it's not, even though Tomlin said he was the front runner, he didn't prove to me that he was that much better.
Okay.
So my whole thing was, as long as Fields doesn't turn the ball over and he leads the offense, they should take care of it on the ground. But lately, he's been throwing the ball really well.
Well,
I
hey,
like him.
sometimes you need that new system, that new coach, that new voice in your ear. Look at one Sam Darnold, you know.
Right, right.
So, all right, there you go. Well, Benny, that was Sunday night. Monday night, we have Saints at Chiefs.
Mm.
Bias plus score of 16.5 favors the Saints. Chiefs,
They still riding the skew?
they were winning like last year's Eagles, you know.
Right, right,
Not
right,
impressing everybody and got everybody worried that that the magic is going to wear off at some particular point.
right. Which it might. Now, so after getting off to that real high scoring fast start that we talked about at the beginning of the season, the Saints kind of came back down to earth against the Eagles in week 3. They lost that game, and they came out on the short end of a very exciting, this was my intriguing game. This game was super exciting. NFC South battle with the Atlanta Falcons. The back and forth battle had 4 lead changes, but the Saints finally fell 26-24 on a last second field goal by the Falcons kicker, which we talked about earlier. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs are kind of in bad shape injury wise. They already lost wide receiver Hollywood Brown, who they just brought in. I believe he's done for the season. Against the Chargers, they also lost their other top wide receiver, Rashee Rice, possibly for the season. I'm not sure they've determined that yet, but it's not a good injury. It's a bad injury. And star tight end Travis Kelce has been off to a really bad start, basically been a non-factor. That being said, Chiefs fell behind the Chargers 10-0, and they fell behind the Chargers 10-0 in the worst way they possibly could. They threw an interception, and they lost a fumble. But it was only the first quarter when that happened. After that, Patrick Mahomes threw a bomb to rookie wideout Xavier Worthy, fastest man at the combine, did that in the second quarter. And then Samaje Perine finished off a fourth quarter drive with a short touchdown run. That, with the Butker field goal, was all the KC scoring that won the game 17-10, coming from behind. In between that, Kelce caught 7 balls out of 9 targets, so he seems to be back in good graces. And Kareem Hunt, up from the practice squad, led the way on the ground with Pacheco still being hurt. He had 69 yards rushing. Chiefs are at home. Saints, I don't want to say they're fading, but I think the Eagles exposed them a little bit. If that hadn't happened, I might take the Saints with the bias on the upset, but I'm not going to do it. I think Patrick Mahomes will get it done even with all the injuries that he's got out there. I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Going against the bias, going with the
Yeah, I can't pick against the Chiefs. I just
Hey, look, I can understand it. I can understand it. All right, all right. Well, Benny, there's probably a couple of teams that we haven't talked about yet. And you know why?
because they're on the bye.
Because they're on the bye. The Lions, the Chargers, the Eagles, and the
Titans, who really need it.
yeah, really, really. And I think earlier when I did the Texans, I had the Titans helmet up there.
Oh,
The team,
okay.
it don't look right. So I have to, but this was a new endeavor for me to bring all of the the helmet stuff together and everything. So it was a challenge. It was a challenge. So these are your teams that are on the bye for your fantasy people, right, Benny?
Yeah, if you've got players on these teams, you're going to have to make some adjustments. The only Titans players that might mean some people might have Calvin Ridley, who really isn't playing that well. DeAndre Hopkins is a non-factor. Maybe Tony Pollard. Here's the thing. Will Levis got injured, but it was a minor injury. Mason Rudolph, who was the backup with the Steelers not that long ago, came in and the offense started to click. I believe they won that game, in fact. I have to go back and look. Didn't they win? Yeah, they beat the Dolphins. So,
you know,
so now they're on the bye. So now the coach has to figure out. Now, remember, we had this discussion last week. This is a coach who is not married to Will Levis. He didn't draft him. He didn't pick him. Okay. The guy's got turnovers coming out the yin yang. And the coach has talked about him kind of bad at press conferences. So now he's at a point now where he has an opportunity to give him a chance to get himself together and come back after this bye and see what he's going to do, or go with Mason Rudolph. The deal is, though, Mason Rudolph played well enough to make his leash very, very short.
Yeah, I have a note here. Mason Rudolph, excuse me. Mason Rudolph to the rescue for the Titans. Really?
Yeah, he actually played well. He looked good. And I don't like Mason Rudolph. I never liked Mason Rudolph.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
He's the guy that swung his helmet at Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. Okay. Well, that wraps up the Bias Plus reports for week 5, which only leaves one piece of business, Benny.
And what's that?
It is the Bias Plus Buster of the week. It is one Baltimore Ravens.
All right. Yeah, they
Bias Plus score of 25.2, and they won by 25.
They put it on them.
For Bias Plus Buster score of 50.2. Congratulations to the Baltimore Ravens. Oh my goodness. That was crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, fantastic. We had so much fun. Any last words?
No, got some good games coming up. Do you have an intriguing game? Did you think about it?
Some actually I did not. And as I think about it for just a hot minute and look down my list of games here, let me just see real quick.
Well, you don't have to look far because you got Bucks and Falcons right there at the top.
Yeah, that looks like an interesting one. Bills Texans.
Okay, right. We mentioned that one, yes.
Yeah, Bills Texans looks interesting to me. Commanders Browns, only because you already said Sean don't want to run, and Jaden will just make running look like it's no problem. I just think the differences between those two, and this is an AFC NFC matchup.
The way Deshaun's getting punched in the mouth, I got a funny feeling they're going to make the Commanders' defense look really, really good.
I'm thinking if the Ravens beat the Bengals bad, all of a sudden that whole Bengal mystique is going to kind of dissipate.
Oh yeah. That's it. Yeah, that'll be over. Especially if they really smack them.
I'm going to go, Benny, with the Packers Rams.
Oh, NFC West.
Packers Rams. NFC.
Well, NFC North versus West. I'm sorry. But I know you want to see the Rams lose, so that's okay. I got you.
Yeah, that would make it good. And I want to see the Packers have a big game. So those kind of games you got to be careful about, That's how That's how
Yeah, but I feel strongly about the Packers in that game. The sneaky game to me is Cowboys and Steelers. That could be a knockdown drag out.
yes, that could be. That could be, you know. And usually I kind of defer to some of those games. It's just that one game for the day, you know.
Yeah,
And I guess the other one would be the Saints and the Chiefs, because we just don't really know what the Saints are yet. We know the
right.
Chiefs are going to be in there, you know, they're going to swing, you know, they're going to be ready to eke something out. And if you give them a chance and you know they get you on a penalty, they'll be right there kicking a field goal on you. But you know, I don't know. I know. I think I'm going to go with the Saints Chiefs. I'm going to switch it up.
Okay.
Saints Chiefs.
Okay.
There you go. I want to see what, and you know, I'm a big the running back for the Saints. Is he okay?
Kamara,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
And I love Kamara. It's just, you know, where is he? What's he doing? That's
Yeah, we'll have to check and see. I always have to check the injury reports on Friday, see who practiced.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's wrap this puppy up.
Okay, all
In
done.
touch. Ben and
Later.
Barry on football. Don't forget to click the notification bell, hit the subscribe button. Ben and Barry is at www.benandbarryonfootball.com. Talk to you.